Hello and welcome to this quick overview of my new Lightroom plugin. This is for Lightroom Classic and it's called the DNG Camera Make and Model Editor. So before I show you how to use the plugin, I'd just like to give you a quick overview as to why I actually created the plugin. In my particular Lightroom workflow, I do use the cataloguing feature quite a lot, and I like to organise the images, and I also like to quickly access certain images which have been taken with a certain camera, and we can do that using the metadata filter inside of Lightroom. The problem is that now I'm scanning with my DSLR setup, the information that ends up in the EXIF panel of the Lightroom catalogue is going to be the EXIF data from the actual camera that I've used during the scanning process. And this is not the actual camera that I used when I created the actual negative. So that's why I've created this plugin. So basically it allows me to select either a single photograph or a selection of different photographs which I've scanned with the DSLR camera. And then I can quickly overwrite that metadata to reflect the particular camera that I used when I exposed onto that negative. So that's the principle of the Lightroom plugin. So now I'd like to just jump into Lightroom and I'll show you how we can actually put this into use on some real images. Before we can actually use the plugin, we have to get it installed into Lightroom. So I've downloaded the zip file, so I need to unzip that first to give us access to the plugin file. Back over in Lightroom, go to File, Plugin Manager, and then in here we need to choose Add, locate the plugin that we've just extracted, add the plugin. It's automatically enabled for us, so we can click Done. Now that the plugin's installed, I've got a series of images along the top row. These were all taken with a Mamiya film camera. These images along the bottom row were taken with a Pentax 35mm camera. If we currently look at the images, I'm going to choose one, and under the metadata panel, make sure we've got EXIF selected from the drop down. If we look under the make and the model, we'll see that they represent, in this case, the Nikon D810, because that's the camera that I used when I made a copy of the negative. This is not the information that I want, because I want to be able to identify which camera this particular photograph or this series of photographs were taken with, and that's the film camera. And the same with these 35mm ones. They are saying Nikon D810. Unfortunately, with Lightroom, we can't change this EXIF data. It's embedded into the catalogue. So there's nothing we can do to change it. That's why I created the plugin. So let's now bring up the plugin and we can change the information within these images. So in Lightroom, go to the Library menu at the top, come all the way down to the bottom, and it says Plugin Extras. So I'm going to choose the plugin. The greyed out one is just the name of the plugin itself, so we want the one below it. That opens up the plugin interface. Basically, it's quite straightforward. It starts off by telling us how many images are going to be updated. In this case, we've only got the one selected. There is some presets that we can choose from. I've programmed some typical DSLR type camera presets, because you don't always have to use this with scans. You can use it with digital images as well. Then we've got the camera make and the camera model. So if you were to choose a preset, it would pre-fill that in for you, but you can override the value. But for my particular case, I want to use custom. So I'm going to choose Mamiya for the make of the camera, and the actual model was a C220. The next checkbox, if enabled, will remember these values on the next run. So it will remember what you've populated into these two boxes. This option will perform a dry run, so basically it's going to simulate what would happen but it won't actually write any changes into the catalogue. So I've chosen one image. Let's press apply. It now tells us that it's updated one DNG file, and to see the refreshed values in Lightroom we must run the metadata, read metadata from the file option. So basically, in order to see that information come back into Lightroom, we have to go to metadata and then read that information back in. You can actually do it by selecting update DNG preview. That's my preferred way, but you can do it by the read as well. So I'm going to do it by the read. It's just asking me to confirm, so it's reading that back in, and we can now see that it's populated with Mamiya and C220. That's how we can do a single image, although we're not restricted to a single image. We can do a batch, so let me just quickly select these three, and again we can see that we've got the original information. So back in Lightroom, library menu, plugin extras, and because I had that checkbox ticked off, it's already remembered the values from the previous run. So everything's in order. I'm going to press apply. It's updated 3 images. This time I'll go to metadata, update DNG previews. It does the same thing, and we can see that information coming in, so it's actually overridden that information. Turning to the bottom images, you'll see that I've got 3 DNG files and a TIFF file. And the reason I've left the TIFF file in here is because I want to show you what happens when we try to change the metadata on a non-DNG file. So for this particular one, library, plugin extras, this time it was a Pentax, and the camera model was a Spotmatic. It was actually an SP1000. I'll press apply. It's updated that one. I'll just bring in that information. So there's the Pentax SP1000. Now this time I'm going to choose this one, this DNG, and this TIFF file. Library, plugin extras. Use the same information, but I'm going to do a dry run this time, and I'll show you what happens. Press apply. It tells me that it would have updated one DNG, but it would have skipped a non-DNG, and that's the TIFF file that it would have skipped. Press OK. And the reason for that is that the plugin will only work with a DNG format. It's not designed to work with a proprietary raw format file. I like to use the DNGs for various reasons, and it certainly made it easier when I was making the plugin to actually just concentrate on writing to one particular file. If you're not using DNGs, then I would seriously consider looking into that, because it really is, in my opinion, one of the best formats to store the images in, especially inside of Lightroom, because you haven't got this sidecar file hanging about. So we know it would have failed according to the dry run, so let's just confirm what would happen if we actually did the actual live run. Press apply. It's updated one and it's skipped one. That's what it said it was going to do. So let's just go to metadata, read the metadata from the file, and let's have a look. So there's the one that it's replaced, and the TIFF file has remained the same. So that's the small plugin that I've created for Lightroom Classic. As I say, I'd like to reiterate that it's only for DNG files. If it's something that you feel that would fit into your workflow, I think you'll find it very easy and intuitive to use. And it certainly has helped me, especially when I'm scanning my films, because now what it allows me to do is that when I go to the metadata tab and I can filter on the cameras, I can see that, like for the C220, I've got 4 images, and there they are. I've got the 2 for the Spotmatic, they're the Pentax ones that we still did, and I've still got these 4 to do for the Nikon D810. So when I've done those, I can quickly see or filter by the actual cameras that I used to expose that negative. And that to me is the beauty of Lightroom's catalogue. It's so fast, helps you organise your negatives in a very intuitive way. Thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.